Greetings and welcome back to room 303 and our conversations called Dare to Teach. We are now in the very last conversation together. We are going to go back to where we started, Song of Myself, Whitman's classic Song of Myself, passage 46, 47. Now, it is true that I give a series of talks at learnstrong.net down the left-hand side called Talks with Walt, where I have already given a full explanation of this set of lines, and yet a good number of you have said, I want you to summarize for us what you think is going on in this passage, specifically as it relates to and for teachers. Now, we've been talking about the integral teacher, and at learnstrong.net we've got that playlist now of Dare to Teach, and we commented on the 12 what I call core values of the integral teacher: honesty, forgiveness, freedom, love, compassion, justice, hope, courage, joy, peace, and then the last four: discipline, purity, grace, mercy, and we just finished with gratitude. And again, let me say how grateful I am for the opportunity to share these ideas with you. We'll talk now about teacher, of course, as we said. Teacher as distributor of knowledge, teacher as developer of integrity, and teacher as destroyer of lazy kinds of ways of thinking and the like. Let's go now to passage 46. And instead of my reading it, as I did at the beginning of our conversation when I said a teacher speaks to a curious student, let's actually now just quickly play the game of what he says. And notice he begins with epistemology, the first of our big five. I know I have the best of time and space. This optimism, this informed optimism, is something that teachers have to have and was never measured and never shall be measured. In other words, teachers cannot allow themselves to be limited. I tramp, it's an important understanding of what our lives as teachers are. A walk. It is a journey. It's Homer. It's the Odyssey. I tramp a perpetual journey. It's an ongoing. It's a perpetual ongoing. He will say later that after we start, we never lie by again. Perpetual. Lifelong learning as a teacher. Let's put that one as one of our favorite. Come listen all. And then he has some signs: a rainproof coat, good shoes, staff cut from the woods. It's interesting to ask, what are your signs? When we ask students about you, what's the first thing they say about you? I hope that they will say something as an integral teacher about, again, as we said, the look in the eye and the tone of the voice, and acceptance. No friend of mine takes his ease in my chair. This is an interesting idea. That is to say, teachers are not made to help students be at ease, but rather to help them prepare to destroy the teacher, as we'll see at the end of the passage. I have no chair, no church, no philosophy. It's an interesting idea. It seems to suggest that what Whitman is saying about great teachers is that we don't have agendas, that we are somehow trying to cram information down into our students. Again, this is why we're not just a distributor of knowledge, but we're a developer as well of certain kinds of ways of thinking. I have no chair, no church, no philosophy. What is it that a teacher does? Now here comes the word picture that so many of you resonate with and love. I lead no man to a dinner table, library exchange, but each man and each woman of you I lead upon a knoll. This is what the teacher does for the student. Takes the student to an elevated position, a knoll. My left hand hooking around the waist, my right hand pointing to landscapes of continents and the public road, which is why, of course, we'll often read this passage along with Song of the Open Road afoot and lighthearted. I take to the open road, healthy, free, the world before me, the long brown path before me, leading wherever I choose. The job of the teacher is to live a life of freedom, challenging the student to want to live a life of freedom, pointing to the horizon. These are all of the things that you could do. This is the amazing majesty of the life that you can have, if only you would open your eyes and see that it's there. And then he'll say it, and I think this is central. This is one of our first major teachings of this poem as it relates to teachers. Not I, not anyone else can travel the road for you. You must travel it for yourself. For those of us who have been parents or are parents now, or in my case, grandparents, we recognize this. We often want to try to travel the road for the student, for the child. You can't do it. The student has to go through the process himself, herself, themselves. It's the only way. It's the only way. It is, he says, not far. Notice a certain kind of encouragement now. It is within reach, and then the use of the word perhaps. Perhaps, again, epistemological fallibilism. Perhaps you've been on it since you were born and did not know. Notice the juxtaposition of the opening lines. I know I have the best of time and space, and yet he says it's very possible that our students just don't know. It reminds us that amazing thinker, teacher, lover would hang on a cross and say, forgive them, for they know not what they do. In other words, what's the argument here? We don't teach evil students. We don't teach students who are nasty, evil, and so corrupt they're beyond repair. No, no, no. It's just you didn't know. Perhaps you were on this journey, you just didn't know it, he says to the student. Our job is to help the student understand or know the journey they're on. Perhaps it's everywhere on water and on land. Obviously, we're going to have the two word pictures of walking and swimming. And then, what is it that the teacher does? He speaks to the student. Shoulder your duds, dear son. A very American idiom, right? Shoulder your duds, dear son, and I will mind. Let us hasten forth. Wonderful cities, free nations, we shall fetch as we go. In other words, there's all this amazing stuff. And notice the teacher and the student are going to go together. If you tire, which of course the student will, give me both burdens and rest the chuff of your hand on my hip, and in due time you shall repay the same service to me. There's a symbiotic nature between the student and the teacher. For after we start, we never lie by again the teacher that told me long after she had retired she had to have surgery, and that one of the nurses taking care of her was one of her old students who remembered her. It's interesting, this circle, it's going to be filled, and we realize that our students will someday be the ones that will take care of us. That is compelling. That is a compelling idea to help our seniors in high school recognize that our current kindergartner and first and second graders will someday take care of them. So they want to be a good model, a good light for them. This day, and then he kind of interposes this little bit about how amazing learning is for us as teachers. This day before dawn I ascended a hill and looked at the crowded heaven and said to my spirit, when we become the unfolders of those orbs and the pleasure and knowledge of everything in them, shall we be filled and satisfied then? Is there ever a moment as a classroom teacher that I have learned enough? My spirit said, no. We've at level that lift to pass and continue beyond. In other words, transcend and include. There it is. We're always learning new information. If our comments and our conversations here together about Dare to Teach has done anything for you to challenge you to rethink what you're seeing yourself as, your students as, those outside of your classroom as, then we've done something really important. You're asking me, now this poem obviously becomes majestically personal. You're asking me questions, the student obviously asking questions to the teacher, and I hear you. I answer, I cannot answer. You must find out for yourself. The job of the teacher is to help the student learn how to seek, how to search. We sometimes have to be very careful because we sometimes have the tendency as teachers to want to give the answers too quickly, too easily. It's such a frustration. Why can't you learn this stuff? Our challenge as teachers is to recognize we have to help the students find their truth, their answers. Now again, the new is the new. The NEW is the KNEW, no question. And what students come to as being unbelievable new information for them is actually very, very ancient, which is why we always are referencing the older texts and titles and authors in our series here of Dare to Teach, all the way back to Socrates and St. Augustine. But students have to come to those on their own terms and in their own way, and our job is to obviously help them do that. And then you get this word picture of the teacher as developer, not just distributor. Sit a while, dear son, here's biscuits to eat, here's milk to drink. As soon as you sleep and renew yourself in sweet clothes, I kiss you with a goodbye kiss and open the gate for your eager's hence. And this is, of course, always difficult for us. Why is it that the end of years is always so hard on teachers? Well, if we've done our job, we have an investment of energy, time. Can we say love? Yes, love. And we got to say goodbye to them. We got to kiss them with a goodbye kiss, and out they go to the gate, out they go to the world. If we've done enough to prepare them for the world they're about to enter, the next grade level, the things they have to do. And it's always for us a little bit troubling, and yet if we've done our job well, if we've distributed knowledge and we've helped them to develop integrity, then we're maybe as well going to hope that they will, in the end, destroy us. And this is the end, of course, of the passage. Long enough. And I would say as a teacher speaking to teachers, let's make sure that we hear this for ourselves. Long enough have you dreamed contemptible dreams. If you're a skeptic, if you're in a classroom and you don't really think that our country and our world has a chance, don't share those kinds of skeptical views with your children. Why would you do that? We've dreamed contemptible dreams long enough. Of course, we call them nightmares. Now, I wash the gum from your eyes. And this is, of course, what great teachers always do for students. They destroy the blindness, the darkness. You must habit, there it is, rhythms. It's all about rhythms. You must habit yourself to the dazzle of the light. And of every moment of your life, think about our Scrooge story from the last lecture. The moment his life is ended, it's then that he begins to recognize, oh, man, I had so much, and I just didn't realize so much that I had. In other words, spend some time before your next teaching experience thinking about the beauty of the life that you get to live. The amazing gift, the precious gift of being able to work with students. It is a compelling gift. We need to see it as that. And we have a tendency to forget. Long enough, have you dreamed contemptible dreams? You must habit yourself to the dazzle of the light and of every moment of your life. I would say every moment of your life in a classroom. Long have you timidly waited, holding a plank by the shore. I love this word picture. We hold on to our little piece of wood, walking around the shallow water. Why do we need our wood? So that we can float. Why? Because we don't want to drown. We're so worried. We're so worried as teachers. We don't want to take any risks. We don't want there to be any failure at all. We have to somehow pretend as if we're these perfect people, and we know we're not. It's absolutely insane. So he says it now. Notice the use of the word now to give a sense of the present. And for those of you who have been following my lectures and Talks with Walt as we're reading every line of Leaves of Grass, you'll notice that this word now comes back again and again for Whitman. He loved this word. He says, now I will you. By the way, the other word here would be dare. He learned it, of course, from his reading of Wordsworth's Tintern Abbey. And so I dare to hope. I will you, I dare you to be a bold swimmer. Notice we're going from the word picture of walking or tramping now to swimming. I will you to be a bold swimmer, to jump off in the midst of the sea. This will be my challenge always to myself and to all teachers. To jump off into the midst of the sea. Don't swim in the shallow. Go out there where the great whites are. Go, get out there, amidst of the sea. Rise again, nod to me, shout and laughingly dash with your hair. The idea is here, don't just jump into the deep part of the sea where the great whites are, but go out there and swim and have fun doing it. Take those risks. Involve yourself in the work of being a teacher, an integral teacher that's dangerous and yet joy-filled. Why can't it be joy-filled? I would say to a number of teachers who are watching this information that maybe you've lost your passion. It could be that again. It once was. Why can't it be that again? Well, there's all this stuff. No. We can't allow for experiences and other things to determine how we respond. Remember our theodicy. Why did this happen for me? And then to laugh and to nod back to the teachers. One of the greatest things we can do as teachers is to say thank you. Back to our 10-turn challenge, right? To say thank you to the people who brought us to this moment in time. And to say to those teachers nodding with the hair, laughing or nodding and laughing, dashing with the hair, to say, I am all of this because of other teachers, other grades who showed me the way. And although Whitman ends passage 46 and begins passage 47, we always just continue. And he says it, I'm the teacher of athletes. We would say the teacher of swimmers, right? And here it is. This is the challenge for us as teachers. And it's why some of you wanted me to read this passage again and to explicate it. He, student, that by me spreads a wider breadth than my own, proves the width of my own. So in other words, we're all swimming together, and there you are, the lead because you're the teacher. And all of a sudden, here comes the student swimming up next to you. And this student's actually swimming faster than you, a wider breast. In other words, this student is doing it better than you. I'm the teacher of athletes. He that by me spreads a wider breast than my own, proves the width of my own. And then, of course, the famous line. And it's why we call it the 3 Ds. Teacher as distributor, developer, and now destroyer. He most honors my style, who learns under it to destroy the teacher. And there it is. That's our goal. The integral teacher says aloud, the most important thing I will do is not distribute, is not develop, but to help the student to destroy me. I've often said that I won't know whether the work that I do in room 303 is in fact legitimate or not until my students turn 30. Because I think it takes 3 decades for a young person to grow into an adult. But by the age of 30, it's my hope that every student I've taught will be able to destroy me, move beyond me, do it better than me. I love the fact so many of my students go on to be teachers. And by the way, all of us are teachers to the degree that we're constantly showing the next generation how to live. What is it that Longfellow says in Psalm of Life? Lives of great men all remind us. We can make our lives sublime and departing, leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. There's our challenge, right, for us as we finish. I want to one more time say thank you, and I appreciate the fact that you've let me share a few of my ideas of the integral teacher to destroy the teacher. Thank you.